I'm sure you've probably all seen the Cynefin Framework. Have you? Hands up. Cynefin Framework, everybody? Okay. So David Snowden, Welsh bloke who invented Cynefin as a name because he was in Japan, and the Japanese had a nice name for their model and framework. So he's from Wales, so he chose Cynefin. That's why we end up with his name. But his argument is the following: that in certain contexts we have simple systems where cause and effect relationships are clear. They're predictable, and in this domain, best practice is possible. So, and Duncan talks about baking a cake. It's not his idea. The idea that you get your recipe right, you put it in the oven, you get, well, I don't, but most people get a reasonable cake out of that. It's relatively simple. You follow a recipe at best practice. The complicated space, cause and effect is knowable, but you require expert judgment to use it. The metaphor that is often used there is taking a rocket to the moon. It's hard, and you need some quite good experts. It is rocket science, but you can do it. And in these domains, expert judgment is important, and one senses the problem, analyse it, and then respond. So this is sometimes known as the domain of good practice, not best practice. The complex domain is where cause and effect relationships are not repeatable. They're different every time. And this is more like, some suggest, raising a child. It depends on the child. Each child is different, and what you do, you might get a different reaction. And that in this domain, you probe, you test, and you do stuff, and get a response and see what you do. It's that you test and experiment. This is the domain of emergent practice. And finally, the chaotic domain, there's a fire in the room, get out, get in another box. That's the domain of response, act, sense, and then respond. So I think what's useful about this, it gives us different ways of contextualizing, thinking about different types of contexts, different types of programs, different types of things, and thinking about this, because I think the problem is either what we do is we put everything in this box and think nothing can be thought through adequate analysis or the rest of it, or we try and put everything in this box and KPI it to death, and then that emergent practice doesn't happen. So that's another way of thinking about unpredictability and how to manage it.